Hello, this is Nitin Dahad with EE Times. I'm at the IoT Tech Expo 2026 exhibition in London and talking to Fiona Treacy, who's the Managing Director of Industrial Automation
Correct.
at Analog Devices.
Yes.
Hello, Fiona, how are you?
Hi, great to talk to you, Nitin.
It's been 2 or 3 years since we've spoken,
But I haven't aged. Neither of you, which is even better.
Well, we mature, as it were.
Yeah.
We're both wearing the red, so the orange,
Yeah,
the
we're on,
wines.
we're on the zone.
But no, you had a little talk on stuff. We can talk about that. But what's the thing? I did a thing with Omdia yesterday, and we were talking about software-defined architectures, which is quite a good lead-in
Yes.
to what you talked about today, which
Yeah.
is software-defined architectures. Tell us what's driving that, and what are the things you were talking about here.
Yeah, so I guess one of the things that I was talking about was obviously industrial automation and how there's a move towards the pace of innovation is just changing and customers' demands are changing. So we, those in the manufacturing sector, they need to be able to evolve. They need to have flexibility and adaptability so they can change to changing demands and production flows and this move towards customization. So how do they do that? Well, one, they need to create a more software-defined architecture, and that gives them agility and adaptability and flexibility so that they have the ability to change in line with changing customer needs. So some of the things we see that will enable this change is, digitization, right? Accessing a whole host of data that's dispersed across the factory floor. And even though we think that's table stakes now, it's not actually in manufacturing environments because some of them are legacy, they've been around for a long time.
Yeah, that's a bit of a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
The legacy stuff.
So I think the legacy stuff is one of the biggest challenges because we can think about greenfield, simple things, have scalable architectures, have redefined modules, try to create your automation systems as we would software through testing, versioning, faster deployment. When it comes to legacy, I think that's when the opportunity becomes much more complex. So we have to think about how we sympathetically upgrade the systems, how we maybe wrap existing legacy systems in terms of decoupling and standardized data models, how we maybe deploy more edge-based sensing, non-invasive additional sensing,
Yeah.
and edge compute as well so that we can capture more insights.
It's when you mentioned that, Analog Devices, I've spoken to you, to Martin, you talk about all the stuff on automation, but the legacy versus greenfield, you must be having a mix of both types of
Yes,
customers, and
yes.
what are the different challenges, I guess?
Yeah, so...
You just talked a little bit about them, but I'm
yeah,
just curious.
yeah. And I think the big challenge we see with brownfield is, how to create what I would call branch optimizations, so that you would have a level of software defined up to a point, and then you would have more fixed function and legacy systems thereafter.
Yeah.
And what we've seen is you can create things like distributed I/O functions or remote I/O functions, where you can actually have a number of software configurable I/O channels, and you can then add an element of intelligence or diagnostics into that aggregation point,
Okay.
and then go back onto a more traditional fixed network.
So it's like a graduated
Yes.
system.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then obviously for greenfield, everything we want to be Ethernet connected. So in those cases, you would have IP addressability to the edge. All your nodes are connected via Ethernet. You maybe have an edge switch where you aggregate a certain amount of traffic. And you could use technologies, which I know we've probably spoke about before, like TSN, so deterministic, which I think becomes very important as well as we move towards software defined, because you want to have IT-OT convergence.
Okay.
And the ability, what I see as one of the biggest challenges is the ability for real-time and non-real-time traffic to share the network,
Right.
and ensure it's not compromised, so the control signals get to where they're supposed to get to on time.
And then I guess the also then is critical versus non-critical
Yes.
signaling.
Yes.
But it's all very good at high level. What's the bits that Analog Devices is involved in?
So I think obviously we provide a whole host of capabilities, and industrial is our primary market for many years now. So some of the areas where we're bringing real innovation to the party, I think, is in this ability to provide software configurable I/O channels, so you can have dynamically allocatable I/O banks. And what this means really on a manufacturing side as well is that they can deploy like a 32-channel I/O, but they could maybe configure 8, and then the next 8 can be configured through software as their manufacturing facility adopts or evolves.
That's kind of a manufacturing utopia, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or actually, operations director's utopia.
Yeah, well, the volume. Once volume is good, so once you get more volume, expansion is good.
Yeah.
I think the other one is the ability to do more locally. So one of the things we have a lot of capabilities is in the ability to distribute intelligence to the edge, because we capture a lot of real world signals, and because that's our primary business, we can interpret them in an efficient way to inform you to make the best decisions throughout your operations. And of course, additional sensing modalities. So like I gave the example in my talk today about motor control.
Yep.
So motor control is one of the biggest users of energy, for example, in a factory today. You could fit that with the servo drive, and then you have the motion currents. So that would be like you're monitoring the motion currents to be an existing type of data. You could put a condition monitoring system like vibration monitoring onto that. Then that's like additional new information. And then you can have an element of edge compute or localized AI, which enables you to use that rich multi-sensor data to make predictive or autonomous decisions.
When you go through all of that, is it complex for your customers? I mean, how much do they need hand-holding? How much are they expert? Or do they need systems integrators?
Yeah, I think that's...
And what's the...
Yes.
Like, is there a balance, or is this everything?
No, I think there's a really good balance. And one of the things ADI has a lot of is domain expertise, and a lot of system engineers with domain-specific expertise can help our customers architect these systems from the ground up, not just for efficiency in terms of use of resources, but power, optimized power consumption, which becomes more and more a challenge now in industrial systems where you're trying to distribute them to the edge, where you're trying to run them locally, where the space is constrained. So things like optimum use of power and reducing heat dissipation becomes important.
Yeah.
So that's one of the areas where we work with obviously a number of our customers. We also work with a number of third parties, and it's all designed to simplify our customers' development journey and reduce their time to market.
Yeah, I remember, I think I did an interview with your colleague Martin Cotter, and I think a relationship with HP on some of the air conditioning, HVAC stuff, which is, I mean, it's quite interesting how deep you have to go.
Yes, yeah, and we've lots of partners across the ecosystem, and I guess that's what it enables through innovation. I think the one thing that Analog is really driven around is, and people that work in my labs is, all about innovating from the ground up, and we do that by partnering with customers and partnering with domain expertise to ensure that we can bring groundbreaking research to life to help our customers.
Now I'm going to speed this up because we've got to
talk
pretty much in the next few seconds. What are the big trends you're seeing at the moment?
This show is actually, it's my first time being here, but it's actually brilliant. It's great energy in the rooms, I think, and such a great, interesting topics. I see a lot of, obviously, AI, how to use AI. I think a huge theme is AI isn't the answer to all our problems. We have to actually understand the data ourselves. I think that came across really strong, is how do we need the domain expertise to understand if the AI is correct. And I think that's probably a good takeaway.
Well, I think on that point where we should probably go, because we've got somebody who's even louder on the stage. But Fiona, thank you very much.
Thank you.